Can we stop saying that ERGs like boost retention? If your community does not feel psychological safety, does not feel like that they have that sense of belonging or that community, and you're trying to do all these other things, you're missing what this program is at its core. Like if someone were to come up to you right now, gun to your head, what's your ERG program's ROI? Gun to your head, what would you say? We should have a clear answer. Hi everyone, I am Maceo, in case you didn't know, aka the ERG homegirl. I'm all things employer resource groups, and today we're talking about the business ROI for ERGs. So I just got off this call, shout out to Lola with the All Things ERG call that happens every first Friday. Just got off that call, and the topic of the call today was around the business case for ERGs. And I just want to note, and I knew this would happen, but I had to go just to see. Maybe I would be wrong. Maybe someone on the call would be able to have a clear, concise answer with what the business case for their ERG is. I would like to note, no one really did. Everyone had like pieces here and there. A lot of, we're trying to figure it out, or we're in the process of figuring out. No one could easily just say, hey, this is what the purpose of our program is. Because if we're talking about business ROI, that should equate to what's the purpose. Like, it should be one and the same. And that was so interesting to me. Like, some people would answer for like 5 minutes and it still wasn't clearly answering the question of like, what's the business ROI? Outside of the breakout session, I was saying everyone assumes that the ERG's ROI is equivalent to what the D&I program's ROI is. Because the D&I team owns the ERG program, so like it's underneath them, they tend to pass on their D&I pillars to the ERGs, the D&I objectives to the ERGs, when that is so not the case. And I say this a lot, I will say it again, ERGs are at the intersection of D&I, employee engagement, and L&D, learning and development. It's sitting right there at the middle. And honestly, if I'm being honest, ERGs are really an employee engagement initiative with a lens on professional development, but for underrepresented communities, and that's the D&I piece. So that's why it sits kind of in the middle. But closer to anything, I would actually say employee engagement. When I first started within ERGs, the company that I was with actually had ERGs under employee engagement. And all the D&I people were like, that's so weird. Like, why is it there? It's D&I. It's really not. It's really employee engagement. And I think even with D&I, oftentimes struggling to actually meet metrics and be consistent in measuring and even defining their value, that has somehow trickled down into the ERG space when for years we were aligned with what ERGs were, like their community groups, they're for employees. I say that to say, what is the ROI for the employee engagement team? What metrics are they held accountable to? For the professional development, learning and development team, what metrics are they held accountable to? Because they get way more money than the ERGs 9 times out of 10. Honestly, like 99 times out of 100, they get way more money than the ERGs, and they're held to a different standard when it comes to what metrics they're told to meet, and the business is fine with it. It's only because ERGs are so closely tied to D&I, and because we're assuming that ERG's value and their legitimacy is based on the legitimacy and value that the D&I program is bringing. That confusion versus tying ERGs with employee engagement is part of why no one knew on that call how to clearly say what is the business case for ERGs. That's so problematic to me. Employee engagement doesn't have the same level of ROI, and this is me coming from working in an employee engagement role. Another thing that I say often is that ERGs are cost centers. They are not supposed to produce revenue. Just like employee engagement programs are cost centers. They don't directly produce revenue. So the concept that ERGs have to produce revenue and that's one of the ROIs, where did that come from? Like, that's an added bonus, but at its core, these programs are about the people who are within our organization. They're belonging programs at its core with a lens on professional development. Something that came up in the call was also that the executives will say that this is, we need ROI. Respectfully, executives oftentimes don't really know what they're talking about. They say what sounds good. And when you press them, it's clear that they don't know. Like, they're just saying probably what they would like to see, but they know that they can't say that the program, like, we're shutting it down. So they say, well, retention. Because one person even said, like, yeah, our executives told us, like, this has to affect retention, or this, like, our purpose is to affect retention. But then if you were to actually ask executives, well, what's our current retention? Like, what are we trying to improve it by? So we're just trying to improve retention for these specific communities through this program. What about the other communities? What if their retention decrease actually impacts our, like, the other ERG program? Also, more importantly, retention is so not affected by ERGs. Can we stop saying that ERGs like boost retention? Because that's so dangerous, because especially if you've never measured it, which no one has. I've never met anyone who's actually A/B tested over the course of 5-10 years if ERGs actually did impact retention. I would bet they didn't. They say people don't leave companies, they leave their manager. So even then, the ERG at that state would just be, look, I actually hate it here, but this is kind of one of the only things making it bearable. Not even to say that I haven't left yet, but while I hate it here and while I'm job searching, I do have this community. At least I have this community, which again, then would turn it again into an employee engagement effort. Now, ERGs can do things that produce revenue and give back with volunteerism and, inform on product. They can do that stuff. Recruiting, great, but that's an added bonus because, as I always say, if your community does not feel psychological safety, does not feel like that they have that sense of belonging or that community, and you're trying to do all these other things, you're missing what this program is at its core, which again goes into why I hate the term business resource groups, because we're taking out the people, the soul of the ERG that actually took ERGs to last for now 59 years. It's because we had people at its core, because we had community at its core. That's the core. That is the purpose. I think that is why it's actually a huge problem that ERG programs didn't know that when they first started. And even worse, that it's years down the line and that they don't know that. Most ERG programs don't understand their ERG program's about. Do you know how bad of a look that is? Like, if someone were to come up to you right now, gun to your head, what's your ERG program's ROI? Gun to your head, what would you say? And if you don't have an answer, and keep in mind, it's almost literally feels like that when an executive brings it up in a call, and then you're just kind of dumbfounded, like, they should know what this does. I mean, and then you start rambling. No, you should have a clear answer. So all that said, if I had to say what the business ROI is for ERGs, I would say niche experiences and professional development opportunities. That's why your ERG program exists, to plug in niche experiences. Although there is an employee engagement program, it's not niche to this community, so therefore a lot of the programming that we do, it's not really inclusive to this community. So also, because this community is underrepresented, we need to be more customized in how we're approaching our engagement efforts for them. Same thing for professional development. It's very generalized, even beyond just the topics. It might just be like the medium on which the learning and development opportunities is being done. Like, LinkedIn Learning may not appeal to everyone. However, if I do have the Latin American ERG do topics that is really relevant to their community here at this company, and then double down on in a way that feels fun and natural, where if we were to generalize that and take that exact same training and bring it to the broader organization, it might confuse people because that's not native to them. It's not their culture. So they might not learn in that same way. But ERGs are a niche learning and development and employee engagement program. That's my business ROI, which then turns the head to the executives to say, what's their ROI? I mean, because I'm doubling down on whatever their ROI is, I'm taking that and saying that's what my ROI is, but just for these communities. Also, how are those teams measuring ROI? Because I should be able to easily just piggyback off of that versus having to build something separate for this ERG program starting from scratch. No, I'm just going to double down on what's already happening, see how they're measuring, see how we can segment that for these different ERG groups or for this ERG program. Your ERG programs are niche employee engagement and professional development experiences. So we're doubling down on whatever those teams measure about our company. We really lean into the communities that really struggle with fully benefiting from our current offerings with employee engagement and professional development. So these are niche experiences that really allow them to create community and to execute on employee engagement and professional development. Like, I think people can understand that. And I think that then it even makes it so much less like political. I feel like it makes like it's something more general that makes sense to people on why these programs need to exist. Anyway, officially ran over. Was supposed to be 5 minutes. I don't know. Nerd out with me a little bit. Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree, or am I talking nonsense here? But do you think maybe I'm onto something? Maybe I could make it a little bit more concise, but I think I'm really onto something here. Let me know below. And if you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe. See you next time.